So you've done it. You picked up Star Trek Infinite, loaded up the game, and now are ready to rule the galaxy.
Advise the Enterprise that their delegation is welcome to attend my installation as leader.
And then you said, tutorials are for wussies. Plus, I play Stellaris, and I've been to a Star Trek convention. I know my lore, and I have a hard copy of the Klingon dictionary right here. But then you saw the UI. You had no idea what an edict was. And wait, there's a mission tree? Stellaris doesn't have a mission tree. So needless to say, it worked out less than ideal. We've all been there. Some of us handled it less than well. But you, my lucky bean, have found your answer. So sit back, relax, and let Gear and Gaming tell you how to rule the galaxy. Alright, and here we are at the beginning.
It's been a long road getting from there to here.
No, not that beginning. The beginning of the game. And so we're going to go down, we're going to click New Game. And the first thing I would recommend, instead of just picking your favorite race, I would go down to check the settings. These allow you to see what your galaxy size is, which is fixed, so it doesn't matter. And you can do things like make your tech cost less or more, how many habitable worlds there are, etc., etc. And the big one here is whether or not you turn on Iron Man mode. If it is off, you will not be getting any Steam achievements. So if you want your Steam achievements, make sure you turn this on and it says this is eligible for achievements. Other than that, you can play around with these to your heart's content. So back here in this menu, we get to choose one of our 4 factions. For today's walkthrough, I think we'll just go with the Romulans. You start off here with a little bit of blurb of what kind of empire you have, what it's about, and just what they want and how they go about it. And here you see the system screen with the basic UI. Now this UI will look very familiar to you if you are from Stellaris, but if you aren't from Stellaris, we'll give you a quick overview of what's going on. So on the right here, you have your outliner, which allows you to see your planets, any of your star bases and shipyards, any of your fleets, and the different ships that are out. Your different civilian ships like governor ships, construction ships, and science ships are off to the right here. Up top is all of your resources. We'll go through those in a second. And to the right is basically your interaction with the entire game outside of your ships and planets. This allows you to control your civilization and your diplomacy and build and design fleets and ships. And we'll go through each one of these here really quick in a second. So starting up at the top here, though, is energy credits. This is the money of Star Trek Infinite. Now, I know this is the future, and money isn't really a thing.
How much does this thing cost?
The economics of the future are somewhat different. You see, money doesn't exist in the 24th century.
No money? You mean you don't get paid?
The acquisition of wealth is no longer the driving force in our lives. We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity.
But despite what Captain Picard says, it seems that while you may not have to pay to build things or pay people things to do things, you do have to give them batteries. So batteries are now our exchange unit, because that will allow you to not only power things inside of your empire, which you need them to do. Everything has a cost in energy when you build it, as you can see in that screen there. But it's also the way that if you decide to go into the trade screen in the marketplace here, you then use energy to buy different resources. So you sell resources to get energy, and then you can then buy the resources with energy. So energy is important. Once again, just think of it as your money. You have deuterium, and deuterium is basically just ship fuel. So the more ships you have, the more you need. Then you have minerals. Minerals are what you use to build all the things on your planets. essentially. So that's important because you need to build structures and mining stations and all those kind of things. So you're going to want that to be well maintained. Food is food. I'm not going to get any longer or deeper into that. It feeds your people. And then we have alloys. Alloys are what are used to build your ships. So if you plan on having a big fleet, you are going to need a big amount of alloys. And then past that is probably the other thing that is as close to currency as you're going to get in this game, and that is unity. What unity is used for are your traditions. And traditions are pretty powerful. You have these different trees in here that you can go through, and then you get ascension perks, which are also very powerful. So having more and more unity is always a good thing. And then you have your influence. You use influence to expand your empire. So every time you want to build a starbase in a new system to take over that system for your empire, you're going to burn unity. And it's also used in a few other things, like making claims for wars and agreements with other civilizations. So influence is important, and you basically acquire it generally pretty slowly through different gameplay elements, and apparently if you employ populations of soldiers on a fortress world, you can get more unity as well. But unity is a very valuable resource because of how needed it is to do the different extra things outside of your empire, but it is very hard to produce. So hoard it until you need it. Science is obviously how fast you are researching things. So after science, we have what I kind of think of as your kind of specialty resources. And there's one extra one because we're the Romulans I'll get to in a second. You have dilithium, tetrions, gravitons, and nanites. And all of these are used in various tech and various different things as you progress through the game. You don't need a ton of this generally, and you'll pick this up as you explore and find it on different planets. Different planets you'll basically be able to mine it or get it from other planets in some way. So just keep an eye out for those symbols somewhere so you know to pick them up when you get there. And if you're the Romulans, you have another resource at the end here called artificial singularities, according to lore. Romulan ships run on little black holes down in the engine room, and you must produce those little black holes. So you build these things called protostar collapsers, and they will help you produce artificial singularities. And beyond those on top up here, you also have these little metrics down below. On the far left is stability, which is basically an average of the stability on each one of your planets. And here you have spread, which is a function of all the systems, colonies, and districts inside your empire. You can increase the amount of spread you can handle by building administrative centers. If you exceed the limit that is on there, you start getting debuffs to things like your technology, your leaders, and things like that. Next one over is the amount of envoys you have. You use the envoys to improve relations with other powers. You use them for first contact. They're handy to have. The next one over just shows how big your empire is in terms of population. And the final one is your officers. Each of your ships requires officers to crew it. If the ship doesn't have enough officers, then it gets debuffs to how well it operates. You produce officers by building military bases and academies and things like that. And every time you build a ship, it will require a certain number of officers to crew it. And then every time you go into battle, you'll lose officers as ships take damage or are destroyed. And those officers will then have to be replenished after the battle. So now that we've covered that, we'll move on over to here on the left. And the first thing you should do when you get in, you see your capital planet. There's the whole wide galaxy out there. But the first thing that should matter to you is your mission tree, because how you're going to run your empire is going to depend a lot on which way you want to go here. So I would come in here, take a look at all of these things and how you want to go about playing the game. So you have an idea of what you need to work towards. Like if you're going to, as you go down this way, you're going to need military bases. You're going to need to do spying missions. And then you come down here and you basically have one of two paths in most civilizations. Well, in all the civilizations, you have two paths. One is your normal path, and another one is kind of an alternate history path. And you can make a decision as you go down on which path you take. But no, each one has different kinds of requirements as you move down it. So just be aware of those. And know that's going to be something you're going to be working towards as you move through the game. Now, I will also say this. You don't have to progress down these paths to win the game. The getting to unification or reclaiming Vulcan doesn't win you the game. This gives you buffs and gives you things to help you win the game, but these missions are not necessary for you to win the game. Speaking of winning the game, you can come in here to see your Empire score. And if you click down here, you can see the different victory conditions and what they mean. I won't go through them for you. You can look at them and read them yourselves. But just know that the screen is here and it tells you who's winning and who's losing. And then on the other screen, you're going to see galactic tension. As galactic tension rises, you get little buffs to certain things. You get little debuffs to other things. Your planetary stability goes down. You get additional claims. Claiming things to go to war to conquer them actually costs less the more tension there is. And your diplomatic actions are actually easier to get through as people get more scared because the galaxy is becoming a more dangerous place. Next down the list is your mission log. Anything that is assigned to you when you go through stuff, you'll see in here. And then your anomalies, any anomalies that your science ships discover will be here. If you choose not to research them right away, you can see them here, find them on the map, and go back and research them later. This is the marketplace we saw earlier. This is an overview of all the planets. You see your planets over here on the right on your outliner. This is a all-encompassing look at them. And you can see what is being used and produced on each planet. So as you can see here, this planet's consuming 2 food, this planet's consuming 23 food, and this planet is producing 31. And up and down you can see the stability, you can see the population of each planet, etc., etc. So this gives you a good idea of, at a glance, of what your different planets are doing for your empire and their overall statistics. And then if you want to, I want to look at Kittimer, you can come over here, click on Kittimer, and get into the planet screen that way. Next one down is the expansion planner. This just shows you worlds that are habitable, not necessarily that you can colonize right now, these ones, but there will be ones that are habitable that are outside of your empire that you would have to take over the system before you can colonize it. And it'll show you how many districts, how big it is, how many districts are available for various things like energy, mining, and farming. Just to give you an idea, you can plan ahead this way to see where you may want to go next. Next one down is your edicts. You can have 2. This varies depending on your empire again. And you can look through them. Each empire has little different things that it can choose. And as you can see, when you choose something, it has a deactivation cooldown, which means that if you deactivate it, it's going to take a while for this to be available again. So look through these, read them. You'll want to select 2 of them. And then we go over to policies and we can see the different policies of our empire, external and internal. I think it's a good idea to go through and just take a quick look at what each of these means. Some decisions that you're going to have in the game will say, hey, this will set your diplomatic stance to a certain thing, or your first contact protocol to a certain thing. And just knowing what these do, I found that in the UI, you can't really see what those mean when the screen is up. So just having an idea of what they mean here is a good idea. This is the traditions like we talked about earlier. You can choose one or the other on each of these. And then you have your species specific tree over here. As you earn unity, as you can see up here, once you earn 3,000 unity, you can pick the first one. As the game progresses, the unity cost gets higher. And then when you fill out an entire tree, either all 5 of these or all 5 of these and any of these, you will then be able to unlock an edict. And these are just general buffs to your civilization. A functioning bureaucracy gives you plus 100 administrative capacity, and your district costs 25% less. These are good general buffs to your society. So working towards getting these Ascension perks is a big deal and will help you greatly as you move forward, which is why Unity is such an important resource. And here's a ship designer screen. We're not going to get too deep into that, but once you start getting different ships, you can come in here and design them. You can change things out. We won't get into that right now, but just know it is in here and exists. But for right now, you start off with an auto ship. The computer designs it for you, says this is the best ship for the technology and time that you have. And yeah, that is it there. Come down here to your fleet manager. Here you can choose how to construct fleets. So the computer will try and clump your ships together into particular kinds of fleets. And then you can also come in here, you click on one fleet and it says, hey, it only wants 4 ships. If you increase this to a certain number, you see this green number to the side of what it should be. And then you can come in and say, reinforce it all if you had the materials you needed to do that. You click that button and your shipyards will automatically start to produce ships to fill up this quota, and then they will go to wherever that fleet is at. They will automatically rally up into these fleets. And you can make as many as you want in any combination that you want up to your command limit. These are the technologies that you'll be researching, and this will be something you'll have to set at the beginning of each game. And as you research things, you'll need to choose new ones to research. You come in here, you have your 3 scientists that are assigned. You will open one up, and you'll get 3 options. Now, these options are somewhat randomly generated. They follow where you are on the tech tree, but you don't get to choose from the entire tech tree. You get one of these 3 options. I would pick the most advantageous to you that you can see at the time. One thing to remember, though, is it's not guaranteed that the ones you don't pick, so if I picked artificial gravity studies, it is not guaranteed that corrosion beams and highway fluctuation scanner is still going to be there the next time this particular technology comes up. There'll be 3 other random ones. So you go through physics, society, and engineering. The ideas are pretty simple. I don't think you need me to explain that to you. And you can see what each one of these does. You choose one to keep them all going, and as your science goes up, these get researched faster, and you'll get a little notification, and that's how you move through the tech tree. And if you're ever curious as to what you've already seen and researched, you have a list of everything that you have so far over here. Down here at the bottom, you see your species. This will show you what species you have living in your empire. You can change their rights and how they're used, and it also tells you about the buffs and the debuffs of having them around. Down here at the very bottom, you see a list of your leaders. You can recruit new leaders from here by clicking the plus button. They cost officers and energy in general, depending on what they are. Admirals cost officers and energy. Scientists just cost a butt ton of energy. Governors cost you energy, influence, and alloys, so they're very expensive, but they can be very useful. You would just recruit them here. And you have a limit of how many governors, scientists, admirals, generals, and spies that you can hold. As you move through the game, you will increase these, whether it be through research or missions and things like that in the game, to be able to increase these numbers as you move along. So that's your UI. Now you're ready to start your game. You're ready to get it going. So what I would recommend is you come over here and you see your ships. Because the first thing you want to do is start figuring out what all these stars are for. Because you're going to need to get bigger. So I would click on your science ship. Come over here and hit survey and pick a star. Then come back down here, hit survey again, hold shift. And tell them to keep on exploring out there in outer space. You can go up to 10 moves in a row. I have seen some people say that you should assign your fleet to go with your science ship. You can do this. I just don't. But it is possible for your science ship to run into unfriendly people. And if your science ship is lost, your very expensive scientist is lost as well. As you can see, each science ship has to have a scientist on board to go do science stuff. Your construction ship can build star bases, mining outposts, research outposts, all kinds of things. They're a very useful ship. And let's say, hey, look, that has science, so I want to build a research station there. So just come on over here, right click on the system and build research station. And he will happily go off and build that research station for you. And last but not least is you start with a governorship. So what I would do is come on over here again into your planet management, and you're going to want to boost one of your planets. Your governor can go and boost one of your planets. So I would look around to say, what planet is producing a lot of something? And it's like, okay, here we go. Unroth 3 is producing 55 energy from its jobs. So what I'll do is I'll come over to my governorship, click in here to Unroth, go to Unroth 3, and you can increase your worker production by 3%. And as your governor levels up, that 3% will climb. But now that's an overall good effect on your planet. Now, as you can see, there's a bunch of different choices for your governor. So go through, look at each one. Maybe you have a planet that is particularly unstable. You want to have them go there and increase the stability. So use your governors wisely. They're very powerful and they can produce a lot for you if used correctly. And last but not least, you can also see this little edge. Unlike Stellaris, if you've played that, there is no warp lanes or corridors in there that you have to follow through each star. Your ships can just go anywhere within this bubble. Now, if you go to your construction ship and say, hey, I want to go outside this bubble, it says the system is out of logistics warp range. If you want your military ships or your governor ship or your construction ship to be able to go to a star, you have to build a star base closer to that star, which then extends this bubble out. The only ship that doesn't apply to is your science ship. Your science ship can go outside of the bubble as far as you want. And I think the last thing we'll talk about for this particular video is setting up your worlds. If you are new to this game, if you are new to Stellaris and Infinite, my recommendation would be to go in, look at these worlds, see what they can produce the most of. Like in this case, food. Come up here, open this up, set a colony designation, in this case food, which gives you a buff to food production, and then click on automation. And just do that for all of your worlds. Like maybe you don't need food on this one, but this is a good energy planet. It's already got the energy designation. The computer did that for us already. Just flip on automation. Flip it on and let the computer handle that. The only one you can't do that with is your capital planet. So I would come in here. You can see here your housing is at a -1. Well, if you build a city district, guess what you get? +5 housing. So just hit the plus. 336 days, you'll get a new city district and you'll keep going. And you'll have to go through and manage your capital planet to grow your districts, grow the specialty buildings. You can look at them as you go on. All these cost minerals to build, and then generally will have some kind of upkeep and energy to sustain them throughout. That is really quick on the worlds. We won't get into jobs, populations, or how to raise armies today in this video, but this gives you a good start. You have a science ship that is out exploring, you have a construction ship that's constructing, you have a governor ship that's making you better, and all of your worlds are assigned a role and are going to start building and producing more things. And there you have it. There's your first day in Star Trek Infinite. I hope you found this helpful and entertaining. If you did, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. You know, throw an emoji down in the comments. Throw me an eggplant with some water coming out of it. That's always a good pair of emojis to throw down there. Let me know you liked it. And we'll see you guys here again on Gear and Gaming next time as we dive deeper into Star Trek Infinite.